Shares of SoFi are up 260% over the past year, but is there still runway in this banking stock? I think there could be, and it's because SoFi is such a different bank than most of its competitors. It doesn't have the same limitations, has a completely different business model. There's even a technology business that continues to grow. Today, I'm going to go through why I think SoFi could be a market-beating stock long term. And let's start with the company's business model and how it differentiates itself from other banking stocks. Most banks, when they need to expand, they build more branches. They have to take more assets onto the balance sheet. They need to expand their balance sheets. But SoFi's business model is very different. It's a much more scalable business model because they are digital first. They don't need to expand the number of branches when they move into a new area or bring new products online. They can simply do that through their digital app. They also have a tremendous amount of operating leverage on most of their businesses. Lending, technology, and financial services are all either highly leverageable businesses today or are moving in that direction. And one of the big changes is coming in lending. Lending has been a big piece of SoFi's business since the company was founded. But the big change over the past couple of years is becoming more of a platform business. The loan platform business is what is growing tremendously for SoFi. This allows SoFi to originate loans through the app. For customers, it looks like SoFi is providing them with the loan that they're looking for, but in the background, the risk is offloaded or sold to financing partners. SoFi takes a fee, so now the lending business, instead of becoming very capital intensive with risks that normally come with banking, like default risk, like interest rate risk, now that risk lies on those investors, and SoFi turns this business into more of a fee-based business. Now, the core lending business, which still involves those typical bank risks, continues to grow for SoFi, and that's something they're using their balance sheet to grow. But a lot of their growth in lending is going to become much more fee-based. That's actually going to end up in financial services, which I will get to in a moment. Now, as a technology company, SoFi also works with partners to provide that bank technology in innovative ways, like providing debit cards for HSAs or savings accounts with other companies. This is another business where SoFi can turn a technology into a fee-based business without being a very high-risk business. And you can see that the technology business has continued to grow steadily over time and is becoming much more profitable. Now, this is one of the slower growth businesses because just 12% growth since the end of 2022. But long term, there's a lot of operating leverage that SoFi can lean into, including some of the products that it's bringing to its own platform, like commercial banking services. That's something that SoFi sees as an opportunity in its SoFi app, is working with more commercial customers instead of just individual customers. So look for the technology business to continue to be a steady growth business, especially as more companies want to offer financial services or savings accounts or payment options or blockchain technology. These are all things that can be white labeled from SoFi and their technology business. Now, the final business to look at is the growth story for SoFi. That is financial services. Financial services has been growing in excess of 100% and has gone from losing money a couple of years ago to now solid operating profit and improving operating leverage in the business. So what exactly is this business? This is the fees that are associated with debit cards and credit cards. It's brokerage transactions. It's lending platform fees that those finance companies are paying to SoFi in the lending business that I talked about earlier. These are all fee-based businesses. They're relatively low risk on the balance sheet, and they're areas where SoFi is going to be able to expand long term. I mentioned an area that I think could be a growth driver for SoFi. That's the blockchain. And this is another area where we're going to see revenue and fees come in for SoFi. As they offer things like stablecoin payment solutions, those fees are going to end up in either the technology bucket or in financial services. And the momentum in financial services is just undeniable today. This is arguably the most important growth driver for SoFi long term. Now, it's hard to argue that SoFi stock is a phenomenal value, but again, technology companies are worth a premium. So the 60 price to earnings multiple, the nearly 5 times price to book that SoFi is trading for looks expensive for a traditional bank, but this is not a traditional bank. Most banks cannot grow at the rate that SoFi can because it's leaning into its differentiation as a digital bank. When you're a digital first business, you can think about your operations completely differently. That's why we're seeing things like SoFi spending more money on marketing, because if it can attract customers, it can have those customers for life. There's very high long-term value without a lot of operating expense that goes into servicing those customers long-term, like you would with a bank that's going to have branches all over the country. So SoFi's differentiation is something that investors are starting to appreciate more. That's a big reason that the stock has gone up as much as it has over the past year. But long term, this is still a company that I think has disruptive potential in banking. It can just think about the banking business completely differently than most of its competitors, and it's lowering risk by moving into more fee-based businesses as opposed to traditional lending businesses that come with risks on interest rates, risk with the economy. I think that's a great move for SoFi, and will continue pushing revenue growth, net income, and even their multiple higher. Let us know what you think of SoFi stock in the comment section below. Don't forget to check out fool.com/invest for our top 10 stocks to buy right now. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you here next time.